Hello and welcome to Free Lab Friday, and in this video I am stoked because I really think this is going to inspire you and spark your imagination on some creative ways you can use your network simulation software. I've got some cool tips at the end, so stick around if you can. I'm actually recording this part of the video last because I got so excited I forgot to say, if you enjoy the video, consider liking it, and if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. I also wanted to mention, for those of you who have been watching for a while now, that work is picking up a little bit for me, and I'm also preparing to take the ENARSI exam and finish up my CCNP. So if the videos slow down a little bit, I do apologize, but stay tuned for my thoughts on the ENARSI exam and the results on if I pass or not. I think I will, but we'll see. So without further ado, let's get into the lab. Hello and welcome to this episode of Free Lab Friday, where I'm going to show you why you should connect your home lab into your home network. I'm going to show you just one cool thing that you could do, but really the possibilities with this are just limited by your imagination. Now I run EVNG, and I'm not going to show you how to install EVNG or import your images in this video, but if you need that information, just let me know in the comments below and I'll consider creating a video on that. I assume that most people are running Eve in something like the VMWare Workstation Player. So if that's the case for you, one of the first things you're going to need to do to connect to your home network is go into Settings. You'll go to the Network Adapter Settings and make sure that you're running in bridge mode. Now, disclaimer, if you're doing this at work or something like that, you need to be careful because the virtual switches and so on are going to have the ability to communicate to the rest of your network. So you don't want to introduce any spanning tree disputes or anything like that. Just make sure you're doing this in an environment that is under your control and where it's safe to do so. If you're running in something like ESXi, and I've already got my virtual networking set up to where my VMs are tied into my LAN network, so you'll need to go to whatever network that is for you under the networking settings. You go into the settings of that network, and then under security, you just need to make sure that promiscuous mode is accept. This is going to enable your virtual machines and your home network to communicate with each other. So now that we have the settings out of the way, let me just show you one example of something super cool that you can do. I'll see you there. Alright, so what I've got here is a rather simple topology. And what we're going to do is we're going to connect Mommy Pig here to my LAN so that we can use Ansible to push some config to it. So by default in EVNG, the network that's connecting to your LAN is going to be the management cloud 0. And I am going to kind of cheat here a little bit because I'm just going to go ahead and connect my LAN straight to this router that we're going to push some config to with Ansible. You see I have the network connected here as well. This is actually just simulating kind of like an unmanaged switch. It's no config there, just something connecting these routers all together. And this one is also connected to my LAN. So in theory, you could configure this and, first SSH into here and then push the config into there. But to be quite honest, I didn't get that far into Ansible until writing the playbook for that. And we'll talk about Ansible in a second here. But I just wanted to show you that the first network you're going to want to add is this management network, and I've done that and I've connected to this router. So we'll go ahead and start that up. While we're waiting for Mommy Pig to get turned on, maybe I should say to load up, I'll go ahead and show you some of the Ansible. I've got a virtual machine here, and this is a Debian virtual machine, and I'll just go ahead and get logged in there. And so previously this was a VM that I was messing with Django on, which is a web framework built in Python, so don't mind the name there. But the way Ansible works is basically you're going to have 3 files, and I'll go ahead and show you some of those now. So the 3 files you're going to have are basically an Ansible config file, a host file, and a configuration file. So this is going to have your playbook in it, and this is the file that we're going to use to push the config. Host is going to define the nodes that you're going to push the configuration to, so you're going to see some IP addresses and host names in there. And Ansible config is obviously the config of Ansible. So I'll go ahead and show you a little bit of each of those files. Now, I just followed the very basic instructions on Ansible.com. This is all the configuration file is. So host key checking false, so we're not going to check the SSH keys of the hosts. And we're setting our inventory to be this host file, which is in the same directory here. So now I'll go ahead and show you the host file. So in this host file, I've defined a group called routers. And I only have one router in here now, and you can see that I have specified the IP address. We've got the username, which is going to be the username for the switch. We've got the password here, which I'm not showing. And we've got this bit of config, which I did have to do some digging on, because when Ansible logs in, it then goes to enable mode to eventually go to configure mode. But in order to have SSH, you need to have the password on enable mode. So I had to look up how to overcome that second part of the prompt. And basically this is what I found. You need Ansible become yes, Ansible become method equals enable. You've got your enable password here, and then the Ansible network. In this case, I am using the iOS V. So I'm not using the CSR virtual node, so it's not XE simulated. This is just old iOS. So some of the commands were a little bit more difficult to find, but if you look around on the Ansible examples and so on, you can find configuration examples. Now I'll go ahead and show you the file containing the configuration. And so here, this is what Ansible is going to call your playbook or your plays. And we have here, the name is going to be first play. We've defined our host file as the routers file, which defines the host that we're going to push this config to. And these are just settings that I have gathered from the Ansible website. I'm still new to Ansible myself, but the main thing I just want to show you here is the potential and how cool and how you can use this to further your learning in some of the network automation topics that are required on the ENCOR and the enterprise automation and so on. So under tasks here, I've named this one interface configuration because that's what we're going to be doing here. And I have two eyes there. That was an accident. But anyway, this is basically going to, these are the commands that are going to be run on the interface. So here we have the parents, and the parent in this case is going to be the interface tunnel 100. So we're going to configure a tunnel interface, and these are essentially the commands that are going to be entered. So what we're going to do is set up the DMVPN interface on Mommy Pig. And as you can see, we've got a description, we've got the MTU, the next hop resolution, configuration, OSPF, so on. Basically, all you're going to need to do, first of all, make sure that Mommy Pig is up and running, which is true. Make sure that her interface is turned up. We'll wait for DHCP to kick in because that was lazy. All right, so we've pulled the IP address from DHCP, and this is coming from my little home modem router thing. And now the only thing left to do is run the command Ansible playbook tunnel config YML. This is going to connect to the device via SSH, send the commands, and we'll see what happens. As you can see here, we have one changed, OK is 1, and we've done this on 192.168.1.130, which is in fact the address that was assigned to Mommy Pig. We can see that we've got some stuff going on here in the output. Let's check the running config. And you see that all those lines are now there. If we do show DMVPN, we can see that we have connection to our hub. We do show IP OSPF neighbors. You can see that we're full neighborship with our hub there. And if we do show IP route, you can see that we're learning IP routes to the rest of this particular network. And so really that's all I wanted to show you. It's not necessarily a tutorial on Ansible itself. I'm still a beginner in that, but I just wanted you to see how you could learn these new technologies by connecting your EVE-NG or your GNS3 into your home lab. The possibilities, again, are really endless. You could set up a Windows server and practice your FTP. I'm gonna try to see if I can do any kind of like AAA stuff like TACAX or Radius, so on and so forth. And like I said, it's only limited by your imagination. Let me know down there in the comments, what have you set up in your lab? What kind of cool stuff are you gonna do? And I look forward to hearing about your experience with this. So I'd like to thank you for watching, and until next Friday, I'll see you in the lab.